Power BI also has some really great mapping capabilities, just to very quickly and easily throw some of your data onto a map to look at the geographical relationships in that data. So for example, I've got our sales amount, sales information, and I've got the different geographies that we sold that in. And all I need to do to get started building a map is pick the field I want and drag it over to our canvas. Power BI will automatically identify fields that have geographical information based on things like the name of the field and even some of the content of that field. So for example, I pick this city, so it knows, okay, I'm going to go and draw a dot for each of the cities in our data set. And then I can start adding things like our revenue or units into this values area. And that will change the size of the bubble based on the number for that value. And you can see that the points are being drawn on that map as the data gets loaded. And we're actually using the Bing mapping engine to draw the background of the map here, but then also to figure out where to plot these points. So you don't even need to have assigned a latitude and longitude for this. All you need is the name of the city. We'll send that over to Bing. Bing will tell us where to plot it, and we'll put those on the map. That's why it takes a few seconds sometimes to get it. We're sending that data up to Bing and then retrieving it to put it onto a map. And of course, I can zoom in and out on this control. I can pan around it as you'd expect with any of these mapping controls. I can also do things like varying the color saturation, the same as I can do with many other charts. I could drop a legend on and color these bubbles in different ways based on a categorical value. And I can do a few different types of map as well. For example, I've got a map here where I'm plotting a bubble for each of the states. Now, in this case, I might actually want to say, rather than plotting a point, draw the area of the state. And we have this filled map control that allows you to do that. I've already added the unit sales into the values area, so you can see we're actually shading each of these areas, each of the states, based on that value. So California had the highest, then Texas, I think, is kind of the next most intense, down to some of the others. And of course, just like any other visual, of the visuals within Power BI, I can slice and filter this data set just the same way. So if I wanted to pick a particular product category, I can click on these, and as I choosing the different product categories, you can see the map's updating and the shading is changing. The other thing that's worth noting with mapping is because we're using the Bing Maps engine, you can actually be very precise about where these points get plotted as well. Bing does its best to identify, to geocode that data, but it doesn't always get it right. So like I said, I can drop a city over and it'll plot this map. Now, the data here tells me the cities are called Malden, Somerville, Cambridge, and Boston. Now, it might just happen that if you grew up on the other side of the Atlantic, those cities are being plotted in the wrong place, not Boston, Massachusetts, but actually Boston, UK. There's a few ways that you can correct this. One of the simplest ways is by creating another column that just concatenates the country that you're particularly interested in. If you had a country field as well, you could join those two together, and that acts as a hint to Bing as to where you should put those. So if I add UK city, you'll see they all get plotted in the right places on the other side of the Atlantic. The other thing that you can do is actually specify a latitude and a longitude. So if you've got fields in your model, numeric information for those latitudes and longitudes, you can grab these and let's drag that out a little bit. Drag these into the latitude and longitude fields, field well areas for that visual. And again, you can see we're plotting these in exactly the right places. So in this case, we took some latitude and longitude data for particular offices for this country. So it's not just picking up the name of the city, but it's locating them very precisely with that latitude and longitude. And again, you can start adding the values to this or the colors to change it to match your data as you need to. So those are some really easy ways that you can get started with geographic data using the Power BI maps here.